Hello, everybody. I'm Arto from Finland, and today I've been asked to speak about permissionless AI. I have a dual background. On the one hand, I've been working with digital currencies since 1998. E-gold was my first use of a digital currency. On the other hand, I've been working in AI, specifically knowledge representation, since 2006. And in crypto, I'm probably best known for being the guy who inadvertently gave Ross Ulbricht the idea for the Silk Road. You can look that up on Google. More recently, I've led EVM development at NEAR. We've spun that out into Aurora Labs together with the Rainbow Bridge. And currently, we are working on a blockchain protocol for information finance, and that is still in stealth. In terms of the current reality around our use of AI, I would imagine that most of you have ChatGPT or one of its competitors as your daily drivers. The utility is fairly clear, but there are some problems that I want to talk about. ChatGPT came out almost exactly 2 years ago, so we just had the second birthday a week ago. ChatGPT is phenomenally useful, and when I say ChatGPT, I do mean sort of the whole category. But there's a certain problem, or there's a couple of problems to talk about. One is that when I, as a kid, when I read science fiction, and it depicted the robotic future or the AI future, I did not imagine that future AI would actually be a Karen. So we are talking about these systems like ChatGPT, where if you ask a wrong question, you get imposed the humorless values of a tiny, tiny sliver of the global population, specifically the Bay Area. So there are certain topics that you can't discuss. These are nanny AIs. Other topics, you're going to get slapped hard and potentially even reported to the operator. So there are many topics that you learn that you shall not breach, you shall not discuss. So this is a rather strange future, honestly. In science fiction, AI was imagined as something where you could actually get honest, truthful answers. But as it turns out, that's a little bit of a more difficult problem. The other problem that I think many of you would agree with, it's not too easy to trust ChatGPT with your personal data, because you know that it's a cloud service. You know that everything that you are saying, everything you're telling it about you, that's going to be stored forever in a cloud service, and every damn cloud service has leaks. ChatGPT has had at least 2 that we know about. So there's a bit of a trust issue on that front as well. Now, thankfully, these problems are nothing as yet compared to the largest problem. So just this week, Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz of Netscape fame, he was interviewed and he disclosed something that was not known previously. He disclosed that in the last 2 years of meetings with the Biden administration, the Biden administration has required him and others to stop funding AI startups. Apparently, the stance of the administration has been AI startups shall not be suffered to exist. So that's an interesting tidbit. The vision of the future of AI shared by the Biden administration to Andreessen is that there shall be only 2 or 3 large big tech corporations. They shall be working in close collaboration with the US government. They shall be subject to the whims of the government, and they shall be protected from competition. So this has now explained, this interview this week, this has explained a lot of what we saw in the last 2 years. specifically executive orders about compute limits, terrible regulations like, or attempted regulations like SB 1047 in California, the disastrous AI Act in Europe. All of these now are explainable by understanding that the powers that be, at least in that direction, did not actually wish for AI to be available to everybody. However, thankfully, there's been a pretty large vibe shift over the last month, which I'm sure you have all felt. Generally in technology, but also specifically in AI and blockchain. Due to, of course, the change of the, or upcoming change of the administration in America. Now, this vibe shift means that the timeline I just presented is not going to happen. And that's great. That would have been a terrible timeline, and thankfully we are in a better timeline than that. Moreover, that timeline probably wouldn't have been possible. The censorship efforts, or let's say the centralization efforts that I just described, they're very similar to the US government's attempts back in the 1970s and 80s and 90s to control cryptography as a munition. Well, that cat escaped the bag, and it's not going back. And of course, over the last decade, everything to do with cryptocurrency. So America has been the worst possible place to be doing a cryptocurrency project. And hopefully that is changing now as well. Now, the good news in all of this is that the cat truly is out of the bag already for decentralized permissionless AI in multiple regards. First, the open source models have grown phenomenally popular and capable. So you are all familiar with some of these names, like Mistral and Meta, Llama, and the like. Now, in many cases, those models are, let's say, free to use, semi-open, but not yet open in the data. But even that's changing. They are now, in fact, models like LLM 360, where every part of that pipeline is open source. You can replicate the end result that they published if you have the computing hardware. And if you don't have the computing hardware, well, even that is getting sorted. For example, our friends at Exo Labs, Alex Chima and his team, they have now made it possible to train, well, first of all, do inference on large models on multiple computers at the same time. So let's say you have a Mac Mini at home, you have a MacBook, you can share the computation across both of those machines. So this is making it possible to utilize at home very large models like Llama 3, 405 billion, which is of comparable quality to ChatGPT, for example. Moreover, in the blockchain space specifically, you have projects like Near Protocol and Definity, who are setting themselves up to be at the intersection of blockchain and AI. Near is currently envisioning the training of a 1.4 trillion parameter model. This is called Near AI, and this would be the largest model ever trained outside of, well, big tech, really. Now, the challenges are obvious. The infrastructure projects to train models now run into the hundreds of millions of dollars. So some of these blockchains are raising money like that. But at the same time, we are also seeing the appearance of smaller models that can be in fact trained on hardware you have access to, and we are seeing the distribution of that computation. So even right now, I'm running a local model on my phone, I'm running it on my iPad, I'm running it on my laptop, and that's the right default. You want to very likely have a local model that is your go-to as a daily driver. Occasionally, you might have a question which can't be answered within the limits of your device, and in that case, you might wish to farm out the query to something like a Galaxy Brain in the cloud. But with the vibe shift we are seeing now, it's very clear that the local model is going to be the default. Apple believes that, not too many others in big tech believe it, but for example, at Near Protocol, this is clearly the future we are aiming for.